I'm back with another video. It's a lot different from the normal type of videos because I usually post a lot of memes on the channel, and I've never really done a official voice reveal except last video. My voice kind of was in it a bit, but anyways, I guess you could call this the official full voice reveal, even though I've done voice in my other videos. This is how I sound. But today we're not making a meme video because I just want to make a review on JoJolion chapter 100. I'll probably make it a series. But this chapter was crazy. Just to give a few quick thoughts on the chapter, I think this was easily one of my favorite chapters of all of JoJolion. Actually, maybe even scratch out my favorite. It was very, very big, and it's really starting to get into Link with Steel Ball Run a bit more, and it's actually showing possibly the first death of JoJolion, because we haven't seen that yet. I have no clue what's going to come next, because JoJolion is going on hiatus after this for a month, so I don't know where Rocky's going. Maybe next chapter will be huge. I do have a few predictions for what next chapter is going to be, but I will say all that at the very end of the video. So anyways, let me give a quick summary of the chapter. So the front page of the chapter has a very nice cover of Rai and Josuke in a tree, and it shows some more Calamity stuff. Calamity closes in from the fabric of the world, getting more into like the Calamity theme of this. Again, I've never said this, but I definitely think Toru is the user of the head doctor, especially with 99's cover art. You can go check that out. But I think it's a pretty solid cover, and it looks like Josuke's new design is going to stay for a little while. So the chapter starts off by showing Rai and Josuke in a similar state to how last chapter ended, and it shows some of the soap bubbles. Not much on this page, except a little bit of dialogue and grunts from Rai, but not much on this one. I do feel like this next page is kind of weird, because the head doctor tells Josuke that he is hiding something, so I have no clue what's going to happen with that. Next page is where the preview for the chapter came from, where we see the head doctor mention if he were to extend the joints of his arms and legs, that something will come bubbling back up to the surface as soap bubbles are floating all around the room that they are fighting in. Next, we get a quick visual of Dee Doo Doo Da Da. I don't know how all to pronounce it. It's weird. But we see Rai shout that he's climbing on the desk. I'm just gonna call him Rock Insect because that's what Josuke and Rai call it from the translation that I'm reading. But it's clawing up the desk and it's on the bottom of it. And Josuke brings out Soft and Wet to attack it. Then it looks as Josuke misses the attack, and the Rock Insect is actually under the desk, like Rai said, and it's coming up to get Josuke. We then see the Rock Insect slip out from under the desk a little, and Josuke seems to be trying to rip the stuff off his face, and the thing's coming for Josuke. We see Rai shout that the Rock Insect is actually coming from the opposite side, and the Rock Insect comes out and attacks Josuke's wrist, and Josuke stands up, and the head doctor points that out because he said a secret would show if his joint extended. Josuke then brings out Soft and Wet and does an aura to try to attack it, but now the thing is already gone. We then see the bubbles go under the table, melt in, which is a very good foreshadowing of what comes later in this chapter, which is absolutely huge. We then get a few action shots of the bug moving from the desk to the wall, and we find out that Josuke was too late, and he stood up and extended his joints, and he was stung with 4 stingers, and now his eye doesn't work that great. Then the Rock Insect comes from the roof and grabs Josuke right from the roof, attaching him up there. But then we see Rai is also climbing on the roof to go save Josuke. Rai then tells Josuke to not move as Rai shoots out his finger and smashes the Rock Insect. Yeah, that's it is. And he smashes it, and it falls to the floor, freeing Josuke. Then Rai gets even closer to the head doctor. Rai then gets his finger very close to the head doctor, ready to extend, and he shows that he exterminated the bug on Josuke, and Josuke's eyes are now getting better, and he can see better, while the head doctor is awestruck. Then we see his finger get so close that he is 2 centimeters away. Then Rai gets so close, he is 1 centimeter away. Then he states that this is the closest anyone has ever gotten to him without a calamity occurring. And he doesn't know what happens, he says. The head doctor then says that there's no one that can attack him. And he starts tempting Rai by telling him of his parents' death. The head doctor then says that it was the flow of calamity that got him here. And that enrages Rai to the point where he extends doggy style and hits him right in the face. Rai then absolutely clobbers the head doctor. Then we see something strange, that part of Rai's hair had come off. Everyone is shocked for a little, but then we see one of Josuke's bubbles. We then see that the soap bubbles are making holes in Rai's arms, and they seem to be moving in a spinning motion. The head doctor then says that this is what he was hiding, and they were spinning at very high speeds. Then we see Rai, very injured, fall to the floor, and what I think is going to be the first death in JoJolion. Rai then tells Josuke to go on without him and try to defeat the head doctor. And he says, I quote, "I don't think you know what your soap bubbles really look like. Those soap bubbles we saw weren't just any trap." Rai then says that Josuke was doing the spin, which if you've read SBR, you know this is insane. And then it says there's a hiatus. So as a final review for this chapter, I will have to rate it an easy 9 out of 10. Now let's move on to a few predictions for what I think might happen next chapter. So the first prediction I have is that I do think we will be getting a Rai backstory on how he could know what the spin is. Also, the head doctor hinted at maybe a possibility of Rai's backstory. So I think I'm pretty excited for this. And I think he's also going to die next chapter, because, of course, he's on the ground, and this is a very good point for a character to die. Now let's get to what I'm most excited about, which is the Steel Ball Run links that they're setting up. So, with the spin and everything, it's pretty obvious this is starting to be a lot like Steel Ball Run, which I'm excited for, and I think Josuke knows the spin, and I could have never guessed this. It's gonna be a big thing, and I'm really excited to see more Steel Ball Run stuff, because that's one of my favorite parts for sure. Also, up to this point in the story, there have not been too many links to SBR. So anyways, that's where I'm going to wrap up today's video. Tell me what you thought of the chapter in the comments, and tell me what you thought of this style of video. I usually do memes, they will be staying, but let me know if you want to see more like this, and possibly more chapter reviews, because this was a pretty fun video to make. And with that out of the way, I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.